Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. The Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship links secondary school students to real life by teaching them the fundamentals of starting a business. NFTE provides high school and middle school students in St. Louis with meaningful training in a process towards becoming an entrepreneur. Through key program elements, NFTE opens young people's eyes to a world of opportunity and teaches them to find their path to success. Our guest today is Angela Lewis, City Director for the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, St. Louis. NFTE's goal is to provide programs that inspire young people from under-resourced areas to have an entrepreneurial mindset. Ms. Lewis has worked in public education for the past 6 years in the Rockwood and University City School Districts. She has spoken to thousands of students on topics from her book, The Game-Changing Asset: 6 Simple Ways to Choose Success. Today, we'll be speaking about helping young St. Louisans own their own future through entrepreneurship. Angela Lewis, welcome to Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it sounds like a pretty interesting and exciting topic here. You don't often hear about schools or organizations teaching the young people how to systematically become entrepreneurs. So why don't you start from the beginning and first talk about your organization, which I understand is called NFTE.
Yes.
That's the acronym. And then secondly, then talk about how you became involved, and then a little bit about yourself.
Okay, perfect. Well, NFTE, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, is a global nonprofit. And we started 27 years ago in New York. Our founder, Steve Mariotti, had a career in finance and then decided to start working in public education as a teacher, and he worked in a kind of tough school in the Bronx and was trying to find a way to engage the students. And so one day, as the story goes, he takes off his watch and holds it up and says, "How much are you willing to pay for this?" And the students became engaged, and they started having this conversation about bartering and price margins, and he found that students really enjoyed this, and so he set out on a path to teach students about entrepreneurship. And so we have a curriculum. It's a school-based program. We have a curriculum, workbooks, and the students actually write a business plan and pitch at the end of the school year. And we have program offices in New York, where we were founded, DC, LA, Miami, Chicago, New York, then licensed partnerships in China, Singapore, working on a partnership in India. So there's students all over the world who are learning about entrepreneurship and who are working to own their future and own their lives.
And have they been successful? I mean, some of these students, well, I guess we'll get into that in a little bit, but there have been students that really have, and I shouldn't even say have there been, because I've looked at your website and there are tons of these young people who have actually started their own businesses and gone on to be very successful people, haven't they? There
are a number of them. And then there are also students whose entrepreneurial mindset is increased. And so for as much as we want students to start businesses, we know that all of them won't, but if we can shift their mindset to entrepreneurial mindset domains, things such as overcoming adversity, willingness to take risk, all of the experiential learning activities that they go through in class help lead them down that path of increasing their entrepreneurial mindset, and it can prepare them for careers or for business startup.
Well, when if they're not building their own business and if they go to work for somebody else, how important has their being part of this NFTE program to getting employment?
Oh, it's been tremendous, because students learn the importance of critical thinking and problem solving. I was in a class at McCloud South Berkeley last school year, and a young lady said, "Well, I didn't know it was this hard to start a business. I thought you just have an idea and you go." They had to do market research. They had to come up with a marketing plan. They had to identify the problem. They had to work through all the finance and sales. And so it really made an experience in the classroom applicable to what they go through in life when they work in businesses and for businesses.
And are employers generally aware of this program so that if they identify a young person as having gone through this program, that they like give them extra credit towards the idea of maybe working for the company?
That's our next step. That is our next step. We have a learning and innovation team that's coming up with pathways, and our goal is to have kind of a credential at the end so that people will know that students have gone through this process and that their entrepreneurial mindset has increased, which will make them great employers. So we're getting there for sure.
And on a day-to-day basis, okay, so let's say that it is September or
Okay.
August. The school year has just started.
Okay.
Okay. Now these young people are, the classes that they go to, I mean, it's like going to math class or science class or gym class, right? I mean, it's a separate class, a separate hour.
Yes. So we train our teachers on the curriculum, and our teachers implement it in their classes. Most often, we're paired with business classes, marketing classes, at one school, even technology classes. Here in St. Louis, we partner with 10 schools, 14 teachers. There's McClure High School, McClure North, McClure South Berkeley, Jennings, Clyde C. Miller, Carnahan School of the Future, Normandy High School, Rittner, Jennings Middle, and Normandy's 7th and 8th grade center. And so all of the teachers at those schools have been trained about entrepreneurship. And then we focus on 4 areas of business: opportunity recognition, marketing, market research, and finance and sales.
And these teachers, how did they get this accreditation that you're referring to?
Great question. NFTE in St. Louis started with summer camps in 2012. And there was this desire through our partnership with MasterCard and through Maxine Clark, who's one of our advisory board members, to bring NFTE to St. Louis in the full year format. So we had business camps in 2012, 2013, and the summer of 2014. And after that summer, our headquarters realized that St. Louis may be a great place because of the buzzing entrepreneurial ecosystem that's happening. And so there was this meeting with superintendents in the fall. And Dr. Art McCoy, who's now on our board and who's the former superintendent of Ferguson-Florissant School District, and Dr. Tiffany Anderson decided they wanted this in their schools. And so it started at the administrative level, where NFTE was partnered with schools and teachers were then trained. And then from there, we've really grown organically, 123% in the last year, because our teachers love the experience that their students are having, and so they recruited their colleagues to teach NFTE in their classes as well. And so some of it happens at the administrative level in terms of growth and partnership with the new teachers, and then some of it happens at the teacher level as well.
And how do the students find out about it? I mean, do they get recruited, or are they just, oh yeah, I want to be in that class?
Some students are recruited by the teachers, and then some students hear about the great experiences that their friends are having. Just last Tuesday, we were in New York with 2 students from McClure High School at our national competition. Destiny Davis and Jacob Tiemann have been telling their friends about it, so undoubtedly we'll have more students who will be involved because those students have had such great experiences.
So, all right, so now they come in, they've been recruited, or they want to be in the class, they're there, it's August or September, they're getting started in the school year. Tell me what's happening, not on a moment to moment, but on a day to day, week to week, month to month basis.
So there are 4 units: the opportunity recognition, marketing, market research, and finance. And each of those units has experiential learning activities embedded in them. For example, the opportunity recognition unit has an activity called product innovation game. And so one of the lessons will be a bag full of random items, and the students will work in groups, and they'll have to pick, and they'll have to create something out of random items. And the goal being to get students to think about what's possible and to think creatively. And then they have to pitch their idea, talk about who their market is, their target market is, and how they would sell the item. So we work on public speaking skills in addition to thinking creatively. And then the teacher follows up with a lesson about opportunity and what problems exist and how to best go about solving those problems that will lead to business start.
So I hear a communication element in here.
Definitely.
The ability to personally be able, like what we're doing right here. I mean, there are so many kids that
Exactly. That's how they start. That's exactly what they look like when they start.
Like, what? What?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
That's it. And so they have to sort of be brought out of their shell.
Definitely.
And now, what are you doing in all this? Are you part of the team that's teaching these kids how to come out of their shell?
In all of this, I always do an initial meeting with I met all of our students, the first few weeks of school, let them know that I love them, gave them all my contact information, and then let them know that we would then bring in other people to support them. And so sometimes I'll facilitate activities with teachers. Other times I'm just stopping by to say hi, to see if they need anything. I'm also coordinating field trips, managing all of our events. In addition to having in-school programming, we have events such as our regional competition. We're planning a hackathon, and so I manage all of that, and then our corporate partnerships as well.
And where are we going on our field trips?
We've taken students to T-Rex, Technology Entrepreneurship
Explain
Center.
what that is, though,
Sure.
that people, I'm sure there are many people who have heard of it, but there's some that haven't.
T-Rex is this phenomenal co-working space downtown. It's on Washington, and it's in the Lambert building. And T-Rex has a specific focus on technology entrepreneurs. There are various accelerator programs in there, but there are over 100 businesses. And so we bring students into this space so that they can see a really cool co-working space. They get to meet entrepreneurs, and then they get to learn about how technology and entrepreneurship are paired together to create successful businesses. In addition, we took students from Normandy to CIC, the Cambridge Innovation Center, which is in the Cortex district, and they were able to meet with entrepreneurs there. They were able to see a different co-working space where the focus isn't solely on entrepreneurship, but there are different businesses and organizations in that space as well. And so we like to take students places where they can learn and be exposed to what's possible.
A few months back, we had a young man here. I mean, he was just in his, I think, mid-20s, maybe a little later than that, but he had started a business in which they were working with 3D printing.
Okay.
And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, this business of his just took off. Yeah. He's in one of these, I forget what building it is, but it's like Midtown, where they have a bunch of people who are like your students, only I guess these are the people who've gone to the next level. They've learned, they're able to communicate, they actually have some money, and now they're actually going forward with their business, in this case in the technology areas.
It's great to have, there are so many of those co-working spaces that have come about, and it's really amazing to see entrepreneurs in that space working together, learning from each other, and supporting one another. And our students get to see that. So much so that at the end of one of the classes last year at McClure South Berkeley, the student pitched her business idea, and in her finances, she had money allotted for startup costs in T-Rex in the co-working space. So just from being there one time, she recognized that, hey, maybe this is a place.
This is the place I want to be.
Exactly.
Right. So these kids are I mean, you've not been doing this too many years, right?
No.
I mean, in the St. Louis market, you've been, I mean, your organization is well entrenched in other places,
Correct.
But in St. Louis, so you don't have that many actual kids who have come the long way.
Right.
But have you had young people who have already had some measure of success?
We do. There's a young lady, Destiny Davis, who was at our national competition recently, has a t-shirt business.
A what?
T-shirt business.
T-shirts.
Destined Tees, custom apparel and design. So you want to look her up. She is phenomenal, extraordinary young woman who's really passionate about t-shirts. She started a t-shirt business when she was like 12 or 13 in her bedroom, and her family bought her a printing press. And so now she's able to print copies, and she sold a bunch of t-shirts at the expo after our national competition. So she's one for sure. There's a young lady, Aaliyah Wilson, who created Kool-Aid crutches. So she was injured and had crutches and was really disappointed that crutches are just gray. So she created decal for the crutches. There have been other students with bakery businesses. There's another young lady who's at McClure North High School who is phenomenal at refurbishing shoes. So kids will bring her brand new shoes and she'll custom make them because everyone wants customized clothes. And so there have been students who've been extremely creative. And then you have other students with really great ideas who need just a little more push to get there. But it is the core of what we do is seeing the shift from students not having an idea about what's possible and then them actually pitching confidently an idea is why we do our work. Mm-hmm. And then the skills they have, the last thing is the skills that they have with actually writing a business plan are ones they'll have for the rest of their life. There was a student that told me she is pitching an idea to her faculty, her administrator, about doing a dance. And she used the template of the business plan to talk about her market research, the finance portion, how much it would cost. But because they now have those skills, they can transfer them to other parts of their life.
And did she make the sale?
I have to follow up with her. I'm confident that she did because she's a very determined young woman.
So now what about your teachers? Are they like, gosh, maybe I ought to go into business from, I see all these young people being successful. No, really, I mean, the teachers, their part in this, they're feeling really satisfied that they're able to move these kids along?
Our teachers are extraordinary. Our teachers are absolutely extraordinary, and they are the engine that makes us move. For as much as we do with community partners, and they're phenomenal, but without our teachers, our program doesn't have legs. And so we're really thankful for our teachers partner with our volunteers that come in to help them. So our teachers, some of them are entrepreneurs. There's one teacher who has a chocolates business. He sells high quality chocolates. There's another teacher who has a real estate business. There are other teachers who are now having more business ideas, but their passion for ensuring that their kids have access to opportunity is not talked about often, especially considering the state of education. But our teachers are, I'm so thankful that they've agreed to partner with us.
You know, you just made an important sidebar comment there about the state of education, which is not good. I've had too many superintendents in here and school board members who have talked about the other side, all of the failures that they're trying to overcome. The students that are in your program, are they having any effect on the other students in their that they know, their friends, or just throughout the school, who are not part of this program?
That's a really great question. I'm going to have to ask our teachers about that and what they've seen. I can't accurately comment on that because I'm not sure, but I know that our students who are excited about it definitely tell their friends. But the actual impact, I'm not sure. And you know, the other side is that there's a lot of anecdotal and qualitative things that our teachers talk about that will never show up on test scores. And we have pre-test and post-test, we have unit assessments, we have entrepreneurial mindset index assessments to see the growth over the year. But one of the teachers said to me, after the girls attended, there were girls from his class attending an event last year, he said she has been more focused than she's ever been. And I know it's because of the field trip and her being able to meet with all of the successful women that you all brought in. So thank you. But that that'll never show up on an assessment. And so there's undoubtedly impact that is not necessarily measurable.
Well, oftentimes school is perceived as boring, you know, because there is this disconnect between sitting in the classroom and, say, learning math, because they don't tell the children from the very beginning, well, here's the problem that we were trying to solve way back. And all of a sudden we invented this mathematical system in order to solve that problem.
Right.
And so if you want to get here, if you want to build like a jet plane or be able to shoot a rocket to the moon or whatever, you have to be able to understand this plan right here in order to accomplish that. I think that kids would get it, just like what you're talking about. Okay, you want to sell T-shirts? Yeah. Here we go. You got to learn this, this, you know, the marketing plan and everything else that you've talked about to be able to get there. When your teachers are talking to the students, or when you're talking to the teachers, how much emphasis do you put on this idea of owning your own life?
We put a tremendous amount of emphasis on it. And the flip side is it's not going to be easy. So we live in, like, it's society that wants things fast and we want it quick. But to hear students struggle is what I really enjoy, because they learn that no matter what you set out, if you really want this business to work, if you really want to be successful in whatever career, even if you want to go to college, which is a goal that we push for all of our students, like, you have to put in the work. And it's not simply you show up and it happens. There's work and there's time and there's a process to making that possible.
But the other part, and here I'm going to pitch something that I did just years ago. There was some commercials on television that went something like, owning your own house is the American dream is owning your own house. And I thought, wait, stop right there. No. Owning your own life.
Yep.
That's the American dream. Yep. And so I started writing about that and had I had a number of people, Texas and other, may I use that? And so I'm glad to hear you and your program actually using that very language, because people who, how do I put this? People who go and work at a car factory have very little to say. I mean, it's like, okay, I punch in at 7 a.m., I do this, and I punch out at 3 or 3:30, and that was my life. I have very little say in what's going on there. The people who own their own life, they decide, okay, yes, I want to go do this today, and I want to achieve these goals over time. And that's what I think that young people really need to understand, that they can control their own lives by being able to control their own method of getting income.
I agree, and I think that there's this dichotomy between continuing to learn and then owning the life and creating the life that you want. And so we always encourage students to work for someone who's doing what you're interested in, or get some experience doing what you're interested in, so that in time you'll be able to own it. Because at 17, 18, although some of them may think they know it all, they don't.
Well, so when I was 18, I knew it all.
Oh, I did as well. My parents could attest to that.
Yes.
But it's important that we let them know that it's possible, but only with hard work, only with continuous learning, only with critical thinking will they be able to create that life. And then the other piece is kind of some unwiring of typical things that are seemingly acceptable, right?
Well, yeah, societal things and community things. I mean, let's face it. I mean, in the very same areas that you're talking about, these schools, and in North City, there is, unfortunately, among young people, a real idea of not acting in a societal fashion. And I would hope that a program like yours would get those kids to, instead of learning how to better sell drugs, which is an entrepreneurial thing to do, but instead of doing that, do something that's more positive for society.
Yeah, our kids are extraordinary. I mean, when you're in a class with them and you look into their eyes and you see their hope and their desire and their passion for wanting more, I've been incredibly impressed by our students' sense of social consciousness. And I didn't anticipate that prior to starting this job a year ago. It's amazing what these young people want to do to help other people. There are so many students that want to help with homelessness. There are so many students who want to help people who are hungry. There are the students who were from Ferguson who went to the national competition. They want a portion of their proceeds to go to helping the businesses that were there.
The ones that got burnt, destroyed.
But it's on their minds and it's the top of their heart. And another thing, kids want to help other kids. I didn't expect that at all. There was a young man named Charles McGill that completely transformed the way I approached this work. Last year, we brought in a speaker to the class who was a dynamic speaker who really connected with the kids, and he was at Jennings. Charles was at Jennings, and I could see his wheels turning as the speaker was talking. He's a successful entrepreneur. I could see Charles's wheels turning. So Charles raises his hand and says, "I'm tired of adults telling us what to do. I want to know how." He said, "I've never been outside of St. Louis, and I want to know how. You tell us to go to college, but I want to know how. Like, you're telling me that I can be an entrepreneur, but I want to know how." And my soul rocked, Lee. And I realized that I've been that one high-fiving kids saying, "Good job, go for it, you can be great." but haven't always given them the path to how. And so
step by step.
Exactly.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you hand everything to them. Maybe the how is bringing them to a networking event and you show them how to be a professional in that environment. Or maybe you take them to a gala so they can figure out how to use all those forks and knives on the table. But if we never give them the how, then telling them the what does them an injustice. The other piece that I've recognized in myself and other really loving, caring, passionate adults is that we'll tell kids, go do the research. Go do your research and come back to me, and go do the research and then come back to me. But if we haven't taught kids how to decipher quality content from junk, then we're sending them out there blindly to get anything that's possible, because anyone with a server can have a website and can produce content. And so the way that we approach kids really has to be, at least from our work, from how can we get them the how and have them earn what it is they say that they want.
We got about 2 more minutes left here, and I want to just give you an opportunity to tell people, how'd you get from where you were to where you are now? In 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. Well, the really long story short is that I'm a nifty kid. I grew up Martin Luther King and King's Highway, and I had extremely loving parents, but we weren't wealthy by any means. And then basketball became my hook. So I played basketball at Lafayette High School. I was a part of the voluntary desegregation program, and then received a full athletic scholarship to St. Louis University, and then played overseas in Germany, which was my first international experience. So it makes sense now to be back tied into a global organization. And then from there, I coached college ball and then worked in public education in St. Louis for the past 5 years or so. And so the underlying theme throughout my professional career and throughout my life and with the publishing of the book is that I always want to provide access to high impact opportunity. It was college coaching, it was providing athletic opportunity, and now our kids are able to walk into MasterCard and Amarin and Express Scripts and all of these corporations and experience the entrepreneurs in the St. Louis community.
Right, and go in there and show them value added.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing that I think that you can teach these young people is not what the company is going to give them, but what they're going to add to the company, to their bottom line. And when they hear that, it'll be like, oh, yes, well,
Exactly.
come along. We definitely need you.
Yep, definitely. We consider our work as activating the entrepreneurial mindset that's already within them. So getting them to recognize their gifts, talents, and how that can be, to your point, a value add to organizations and to the world.
Right. Well, I'm going to just take this last few seconds here of opportunity to say that I saw one of your kids on CNBC, which is the business network, talking about this necklace brooch thing that she invented where, you know, it's to protect young girls who are out in the community, and if they feel unsafe, it's almost the same thing as that I fell and I can't get up, but it's for young women.
Exactly.
And then there was a young man who was on the national stage who was just talking in such a way you would think he was an adult instead of an 18-year-old.
The students are impressive. It's Crystal Sanchez from our office in LA, and then Vincent Quigg from LA as well. But the national competition is just extraordinary.
We've got to go. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
thank you. So we'll have you back.
Okay,
and
thank
to
you.
folks, been speaking with Angela Lewis, who's with an organization called
Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship.
And go to YouTube. This is going to be uploaded. You can show it to other people. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.